This is Welton Gaddy at the Democratic National Convention. We are late in the evening on Wednesday. We've just finished the second day of the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, a day that ended with a presentation by what seems to be everybody's president. Some people would say the only man that could be the president of the world, former United States President Bill Clinton. I have with me again our good friend Greg Lebel, who is an expert at political affairs. And what'd you think about tonight?
Well, let's not start with Bill Clinton. Let's start with the early evening. I think what we saw was in the first part of the evening was what was standard fare for conventions. I mean, we saw the themes coming up. We saw immigration. We heard about small businesses. We heard about veterans, and interestingly enough, we heard again about women. And I think what's clear to us now at this point in this whole process is that women are key to both parties in this election. We heard this message over and over again at the Republican convention. We're hearing it again here. It continued to sort of intertwine with the other three messages tonight, and I think that's certainly important. I think it tells us sort of where this election is and where both parties, I think, see the road to victory overall.
You know, Greg, I had the feeling both last night and tonight. And I had the impression, I wasn't there, so I didn't hear as many speeches from the Republican convention. Both parties are right on message. It seems to be very tight on message. You could listen for an hour and pretty much identify the main points of the Democratic message, and you could do the same with the Republican message.
I think that's absolutely true. If anything, I think we're even seeing a little bit more discipline here at the Democratic convention than we saw at the Republican convention,
which is
unusual.
Yeah,
which is definitely unusual. But I found myself thinking, is the same person writing all these speeches? Yeah. Because there is such unanimity of message, such a tightness of the message here.
Well, I have to ask you about one. Congressman Cleaver, I've known him, visited with him. I've never seen him as exercised as he was and as adamant about the importance of the role of religious values in the election. Did it strike you that way?
Yes, it did, and I think what magnified that was that preacher cadence that drove that point home. But he electrified the crowd here tonight. He was one of the first to really electrify the crowd here tonight.
Was it significant that the Democratic Party had the president of Planned Parenthood on the schedule of speakers and gave her really a good bit of time to deliver her message?
I think if we look back over past conventions, you will see that the president of Planned Parenthood has been a featured speaker over the years. So not unusual at all. And I think that Cecile delivered a great message for her organization.
Right. Okay. Well, Greg, in the Republican convention and in the Democratic convention, we haven't had much disagreement. I don't know whether that's all just orchestrated or not, but something came up in the Democratic convention tonight. It was very interesting. There were amendments offered to the party platform, one having to do with reference to God, and the other with reference to entering the name Jerusalem into a piece on the Middle East. As I understand it, there was pretty much a wrangling because there were some people who didn't want to do that, and there were others who did, and obviously the ones on the platform wanted to do it. Took a 2/3 vote. You know that you didn't want to vote against God.
Right.
And you didn't really want to vote against Jerusalem.
Right.
Whatever the implications.
Right.
Does this surprise you?
It surprises me in the sense that conventions in the last number of years have not lent themselves to this kind of activity. I think 1984 was probably the last convention where there were actual floor fights, where things were actually decided on the floor by the delegates. Since then, everything has been worked out before the convention starts, so it's just a matter of presenting the best face of the party. So in that sense, it is a surprise. I think that succumbing to the inclination to make sure that we're not offending God or Jerusalem is not surprising in a way, but I'm not sure exactly what it accomplishes.
Yeah, well, and it's very clear that the leadership of the party wanted it done because it takes a 2/3 vote, and they had to vote 2 or 3 times to be sure that they had a 2/3 vote.
Yeah.
But actually, that was finally determined that they had sufficient votes, and so that changed. I think this is something that we will end up talking about on State of Belief Radio. We may even talk about it some tomorrow in our reports, because this whole thing about how many times you reference God and what kind of religious language you use seems to be becoming more and more important and a part of point of contention between the two parties.
Yeah, and I suspect that what's going on here is an attempt by the leadership to take this issue off the table.
Right.
They don't want the distraction.
Right. Okay, now let's get to Clinton.
Now let's get to Clinton. You know, I was thinking as I was in, I'm from New Hampshire. I grew up with hockey, and you know, I think back to last night and tonight, and you know, we listened to the keynote last night, and then Michelle Obama's speech, and tonight Bill Clinton. And where I come from in hockey country, that's a hat trick. Clinton's speech. Clinton proved once again that there is no one alive in politics today who can deliver a speech the way he can.
Yeah. You know, and the fact is, I think Bill Clinton is the only Democratic president I've ever known that Republicans were scared of. I remember after the impeachment proceedings and all of that, I don't know how many Republican members of Congress said to me, I'm glad he can't run again because he'd win again.
And it's that uncanny ability to communicate with the American people in their own terms and on their own turf. It's really quite astounding to watch.
Well, and it seemed to me that the message from that the Democrats wanted to get from him being here, one was an understanding and affirmation that their understanding of the situation is correct, and he gave it with numbers and facts, and then was very careful to say, believe me, I'm for this man. And I think that's what they wanted to hear.
And I think that second piece is the cherry on top here, because we remember 4 years ago there was there were a lot of questions about what both of the Clintons would say at the convention in 2008. Obama having just defeated Hillary Clinton for the nomination, and I think that that was the beauty of the speech tonight. In that, on top of everything that Clinton said, and the convincing and dramatic speech that he gave, was that message that I'm with this guy. Don't doubt me. I'm with this guy.
Is it too much to hope, or is it too much to expect that between now and Election Day we could actually see a civil, reasoned debate on these issues?
Wow. I want to say yes to that, but everything suggests otherwise. I think that, remember, the other big player here is the media. And I think we will have to see how the media treats this speech and looks back on both of these two conventions, and then looks forward in terms of what's coming up. The debates will be the defining factor in that.
We're a small part of the media as State of Belief Radio, but we believe we're an important part of it. And you know what we want. We want the main issues that are challenging America to be addressed by both candidates in a way that models the kind of civility that would bring us back to what we used to call the art of politics, and help us search for a common ground on which we could find a basis to move forward together for the good of our country. Let's hope for that. We'll talk with you again tomorrow on the last day of the convention, the day that the president will speak. Even as we go off the air right now, the delegates are voting to confirm the nomination of Barack Obama. Hope you will have a good day. I hope this information is helpful to you, This is state of belief.